Well, let's talk about what the next step is because, my friends, if you thought Elon Musk was going to save you, I'm sorry. We may have won a battle. I tell you, this moment is like the battle for Helm's Deep.
Oh, boy.
And we made one last ride. And then up in the break of dawn, we saw Elon Musk, the White Wizard, coming to our rescue. But the war's not over. We still have to get the one ring of censorship to Mount Doom. And what's happening now is the Biden administration is calling for Section 230 reform. Obama has called for more regulations on speech. You've got Ed Markey calling for algorithmic justice, he called it. Lawmakers are calling for greater oversight of social media. According to the White House, Biden has long argued that tech platforms must be held accountable. When they lose in the private sector, where they've controlled the narrative for so long, they are falling back to the public sector, and they're going to try to use government as their cudgel to beat people down and maintain that narrative. So, battle may be won, but we must get the ring of censorship to Mount Doom.
Yeah, so when Biden says they need to be held accountable for the harms they caused, do you think he might be referring to the fact that they suppressed a true story about his son, which in part contributed to him being elected as president of the United States?
Yes,
Well, they're
definitely.
losing that power. Elon Musk publicly comes out and says they should not have done that, and Joe Biden's like, oh, geez, man, how am I going to win in 2024?
Come on, man.
Come on, man, I can't win an election without big tech censoring people and shutting down conversations around what my kid does.
Ask Time Magazine.
I can't. What am I going to do?
What's their oversight that they want to create on this?
It's nebulous.
Oh, jeez.
But they're like, we can't allow disinformation. I don't think they'll win.
Well, but they've already started doing this. Remember, they were telling large social media platforms that they had to censor certain information surrounding COVID-19.
And they did.
Yeah.
And we saw that wasn't like media companies getting subsidy on like vaccine issues or something like that.
Absolutely right.
When what did we see? The Democratic Party went to Twitter, I think it was, saying certain people should be banned. And it was we had Tom Fitton just the other day who was talking about that. Right. There was some kind of expose they did where the Democrats were actually sending messages like, hey, get rid of these people.
The coordination between the White House and the tech media companies has been, I think, eye-opening, and it's scary. And the collaboration and the coordination between the two is what McCarthy should investigate if they get the majority. And they're going to need subpoenas, and they're going to need preservation of record requests, and those should go out now. And it's going to be very hard, even if you have an aggressive Republican leadership in the House of Representatives, to get after this, because you're going to face resistance, delays, stalling tactics from the administration and the White House, the executive privilege issues, all of that, and they'll try to run out the clock. But they have to go after it. You have to begin the fight. And just like with putting up your billboard, Tim, you have to fight. You have to let them know there's going to be a cost. You have to give an example to others. Our base needs it, okay? People need the example to stand up and fight and go to meetings and participate in the democracy. And they need to see their leaders standing up.
I don't think Kevin McCarthy is going to do anything.
I don't disagree with him.
Just ran in his parade over here.
Well,
There's hope, but there's also hope that one could get a different leader.
that's what we need. We need a Speaker Trump, maybe. Who are they going to vote for?
I have the greatest speaker. I'd like to ask you something. So I'm really curious about how new this relationship between the White House and these large social media companies is. Was there any inkling when you were in the White House that things like this had been occurring under the Obama administration prior to Trump taking power?
Absolutely right. Ben Rhodes talked about how foolish the major mainstream media is and the tech leadership. That he could manipulate them, and he made fun of them in private. It came out, and he was embarrassed by that. But the key issue is that he was facilitating and coordinating this with daily messaging for coordinating the White House messages. And the CNNs and the MSNBCs, but also the social media, lapped it up. So we had that beginning in the Obama administration. I'd say previously you also had it, but it wasn't as coordinated or as effective as we saw with the advent of social media really growing during the Obama years. I mean, it's 12 years ago, 14 years ago now, right? So things have moved along quite quickly. I think we've got real problems here, and I think, we're going to have to begin the turn. The turn is possible, but it's going to take aggressive oversight. It's probably going to take another executive leader like a Trump or a DeSantis or someone to come in and put some teeth in DOJ and SEC and the Federal Communications Administration to get after this in a way that will level the playing field. You got to change the culture in these industries, and that comes with the green, I think.
Got to
Money.
drain the swamp.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you look at what happens to Robbie Starbuck. Did you hear about what happened to him in Tennessee?
No.
They kicked him off the primary. The Republican Party did. They said he wasn't a real Republican. It's the dude who's more like one of the most Republicans there is.
That should be challenged in court because I think it's violating a number of laws. I mean, constitutional requirements here to drop someone off running in the primary race there in Tennessee. I read something about it. I don't remember exactly what the story was, but it appeared that it's an overreach by the Republican Party there. But it's the establishment. It's the establishment going after the base of the party.
Yep. If we're going to actually see any changes in November, if the Republicans are going to win, there has to be a wave of populist America First type Republicans who win. But if the Republican Party itself is rejecting these candidates and trying to keep them out, then why would I bother voting for a Republican?
Well, we have a lot of wins. We've seen that in Michigan and other places, okay? And it looks like it's going to be good in Georgia and it's going to be good in North Carolina. And I think we're not in too bad a place in places like Texas.
I think maybe it would be fair for me to say that until the Republican Party itself at the national level comes down on Tennessee with an iron fist, weeding out the corruption and condemning the actions in booting Robbie Starbuck off, we should advocate that everyone tells the Republican Party to go screw themselves. I'm not going to vote. I'm not voting for Republicans until they make that move and restore Robbie Starbuck. Because I'm not going to be party to corruption. If they want to play stupid, pathetic, dirty games, if the Republicans of West Virginia, of Maryland, of at the national level will not come out and condemn this, I'll tell you this: if they condemn it, I'm good.
Well, in Maryland, right here where we're at, the state Republican Party is trying to pressure county committees of the Republican Party to not support Dan Cox in the governor's race. Okay, that's Governor Hogan, trying to stack the deck in favor of his chosen successor against a real conservative who's been endorsed by President Trump.
So, well, elaborate on this. Tell us more about what's going on.
Well, what they're trying to do is influence every county. Every county in Maryland has a committee of Republican leaders, and they are elected. And if there's a replacement needed, they're appointed, and it's approved by the governor. They're very important in county politics, and they're pressuring them to not provide any support. That means organizing help for the campaign at the grassroots level, and disincentivizing people from doing that as individuals too. And that could stack the deck. Now, I think the reaction is going to be in places like Garrett and Allegheny County and Washington County and others that are basically conservative in Trump territory. It's not going to work at all. Okay?
When you say that they're pressuring them, what is an example of that kind of pressure?
Withholding support, denying them access. They're not going to get the benefits of being part of the larger state operation.
Is that not blackmail?
Call it what you will. It's politics. It is politics.
The establishment, be it Republican or Democrat, are happy to see the Republicans fail and lose if it means populists, people like Trump, and people who like Trump don't win. So what's the solution? I don't know. I genuinely think, do I think that Lindsey Graham cares at all? No. He high-fived, he fist-bumped Kamala Harris. He does not care. He is a crony establishment shill.
We did it, Lindsey.
Yeah, so is Kevin McCarthy. So is Mitch McConnell. They're all terrible. The Republican Party is despised by so many people in this country, and it's sad because there are more good Republicans than good Democrats. But the Republican Party is just run by pure corruption. The Democrats are too, don't get me wrong.
The Chamber of Commerce Republican elite, and I call it the uniparty elite because there's not that much difference. George Walsh once said there's not a dime worth of difference between the leadership of the Republican and Democratic Party. That was back in 1968 or 72, something like that. That's ancient history for most people, but that's what was said, and it's more true today than back then. Okay, The uniparty elite is sold out to China. The Chamber of Commerce supports both of them. leadership in banks and venture capital. They give big money to victory funds for Republicans at the senior level. They give the same kind of money to the Democrats because it's all about the green for them and feathering their nest.
Yeah, there's I quote this every now and again on the show, but it's called Woods' Law from Tom Woods. Whoever you vote for, you end up getting John McCain. And it's true that in terms of the actual party platforms, yes, the parties are different. I certainly don't agree that they're identical, but I completely agree with you that at the level of leadership, they're pretty much all in bed together.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.